Hey, and hello, everybody. Welcome to Speaking of Schmoedown. I am Jay Wade, and here we got episode number 8 of this.
Speaking of Schmoedown, Jay Wade.
I know, I lost it. We're a couple minutes late. I have my mind somewhere else. Obviously, probably somewhere.
As always.
But welcome to Speaking of Schmoedown. Sorry about that, everybody. I'm Jay Wade, and as usual, we got Double D here. How you doing?
I'm exhausted after the whole blizzard we had this the last few days, but I'm here. I'm well. Let's get going.
Blizzard. I told Frenchie the other night we got like 2 inches. I was wrong. Frenchie, actually, we got 5 to 7 inches, which he'll still make fun of, but it's nothing to sneak at.
We got, like around 11 inches, 12 inches, I think, of snow.
Oh, well, still.
So.
That's pretty much how much we got here.
All right, but I don't think we're weather people, though. He said my name. My name's Frenchie. I am happy to be here. That being said, I'm rocking a brand new Jets Winnipeg Retro Classic shirt. I just bought it. I am really proud of it. I'm sleeping in it, basically.
That's awesome, dude. I don't sleep in anything. Too much information.
The images, Jay.
Go ahead and before we get started, go ahead, everybody. Please subscribe to this channel here, this YouTube channel, and do the same thing on the podcasting platforms. Also, follow us on Twitter at the Jcast Network and on stereo at the Jcast Network. And also, there's a Facebook page, Speaking of Schmoedown, where we upload clip outs from this show. If you don't have the attention span for an entire show, I understand. I assume a lot of my stuff is clips.
And just to throw my 2 cents in, for those who are watching and not subscribed, saying, why would almost 70% of our watchers are not subscribed, but they're coming back. So if it's not your first time watching us, just click that button. Yeah. It's not that hard.
Yeah, come on, slam that button, guys. Say it, Dan. We both did.
Slam it.
Yeah.
Smash it.
Yeah.
Just don't break your computer, guys.
This isn't my computer.
Yeah, but them smashing the button might break the computer.
Okay. Now, as you can see, I'm still tired.
Yeah, we got I don't know. The thing I want to start talking about first is some matches were announced. The first set of matches for the schedule were released, and I'm about to pull them up here right now. Yeah, we're getting started, guys. First of all, we got the big pay-per-view match coming up with what do we got? We got Chandru versus Mara Kanopik for the title for Inner Geekdom, and then we have also got Molly Damon versus Laura Kelly. So that's going to be really, really good. Quick thoughts on that since I just brought it up. What are you guys thinking about the first pay-per-view event and how that might unfold?
It's stacked. I mean, it's exactly what I was hoping. Something very first of all, IG and Star Wars up front is always a good thing, right? But it's definitely gonna set up certain people because a lot of people have been talking. Oh, Myra could have been the next champion back again. Chandru got lucky, and a lot of people also saying Myra was good, old school. So it's gonna settle a lot of scores. Same thing for Molly and Laura Kelly. It's gonna have some Molly didn't have the best performance. She did good, but she didn't advance that well. So she's really gonna have a chance to prove right off the bat if she could really back up what she's saying. So this is a pay-per-view to settle some stuff that wasn't settled last year, personally.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, I've been excited to see it. Obviously, I'm excited to see Star Wars again right out the gate. And I'm excited to see Mara come back because we've been promised her since last year this time. So I want to see her back. I'm glad to see her back. Obviously, she had to leave for personal reasons. I totally understand. But she's back. We have her back. And I'm excited. So I can't wait.
And I guess stats, I don't know how much stats would play into this, but if they do, let us know that too. But in your opinion, what you're thinking and the past history of these players being Mara Kanopik and Chandru, Dan, what do you think might happen here? Do you have a prediction?
I mean, I want to say my heart wants to say Mara, but my head wants to say Chandra because he's been playing regularly. Or he's has more recent history in matches, so that gives him a little bit more edge. And obviously, Mara's probably a little bit rusty. She's never done a online version, but hopefully she has Dan there to help her through it. And obviously, she is still in the loop. She still knows what's going on. And we have seen some from the spectacular match. Chandru isn't as strong as he claims to say. He has some blind spots. So I think Mara could capitalize on that if those blind spots pop in. But I have to say it's going to be pretty close. I'm probably going to say maybe Chandru just to say it, but I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong.
Well, I say Chandru too, but to your point, Dan, saying she might have some rust. It could apply to a lot of players. I think the one person that may not apply to is Mara, that concept, because she did an overtime match drugged up right after an accident, right? Certain circumstances don't seem to shake her, and she is, married to Dan Murrow. She, even though she's not necessarily been playing, I'm sure she's been training with Dan Murrow. The one person that can really put you in the right mindset to not be rusty would be Dan Murrow as your partner for training. And like I said, there's not much that seems to phase her per se. So I'm not worried for that aspect, but I really do think that Chandru has evolved this game probably from last game to this season, just in a short period of time. Look what he did from not being a champion to being champion. There was a very quick escalation to improvement. So I think he's going to want to defend that belt and be extend his record. I think he's really after a record here, right? He wants to establish as being the best IG player. So I don't think he's going to lax right now and take it easy. So because of that, I think he's going to be better this time. And I think Mara's chances just went down a bit.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Mara definitely has an edge. She definitely is a strong player, and she does have Dan. But again, it's just my head says one thing, my heart says another, and I just can't make a decision. I want to say Chandru, but I really want to say Mara. That's how I will want to sum it up.
Right, but there's one factor here, and one thing that Chandru has in his corner that we've completely overlooked, and I've not heard anybody talk about it at all. I don't think I've noticed it until recently, but he just, as he develops and as we see more and more of him, he gets better and better. How can you bet against that hair, that long that he has gathered over this COVID time? It looks good, man, and I don't know how anyone could count him out. I think back to the old Bible story. Old girl cut the dude's hair off, and he lost.
Samson.
Yes, there you go, man. I think the hair has a lot to do with it, because when he started, he had shorter hair, and then as time has gone on, he's gotten better and better, unstoppable. And now he's got that beautiful mane and that amazing facial hair. And I think that has a lot to do with it, man. I think the power is in the hair.
All right, so your argument is really power in the hair. In that case, if that was the case, my man, Soul would have been champion a long time ago.
Good point.
We don't know that, because when we met Saul, he already had long hair and a big beard. So
exactly.
We don't know that.
So it's like his accumulation of superpowers would have been tenfold, right? He would have dominated right off the league if we're only going on pure hair power, my friend. Why are we talking about hair? Why are we talking about hair?
I know. I need a haircut.
No, talking about hair because I really do like his hair and his beard and shit. I think it's cool. But no, I think it would be interesting and it'd be cool. It'd be a change up if Mara won. But just Chandru's on such a roll, man, and he's so very confident. That and swag. I mean, drip, dude. I mean, it's hard to. Winston is a good manager. He really is. So it's hard to bet against the guy who has just been rolling over people. And
And that dynamic, just as a character standpoint, that dynamic of Winston's not that much. He can be a jerk, but he's not that much of a jerk. He's still a good guy, and he's very enthusiastic. And the dynamic and difference between him and Shandru really play off. I wouldn't want to see him in a corruption or in a in dungeon where they're always like that, right? I like that, seeing that difference in character, and it really works out. So personally, he is at a right faction for his studying, what he needs, and also in the right faction for his character as well, because he would look even more of a douchebag if he was on a douchebag type of faction.
Right. Well, I got a question here. You brought up the dungeon, and we've got Mara and Dan on the dungeon. We've got Bateman on the dungeon. We've got Robert Parker on the dungeon. And I mean, there's more, but I just want to, for what I'm going to say here, I'll just stick with those. Now, obviously, Merle has a strategy of training that has worked for him his entire career. Same with Bateman and Robert Parker as well, to get him to where he's got through the fan leagues and now up into the big show. Mara, I would assume, would be using the technique that Dan does, and he would be helping her along and whatnot. I'm not trying, nothing against Kaiser. I love Kaiser, but I would imagine that the training is more not, it's not his strategy as much as it is the players bringing it in. So what I'm thinking here is you got these big hitters who are good, and each probably have their own strategy. Can you come up with one team strategy to help everyone, or are you going to have to kind of split the dungeon into little groups, like this strategy works best for these couple people and so on?
Well, I can't talk too much about how they do it, right? But or name specific names. But I know for a fact that it's different for almost every faction. Certain factions will have almost you do your own thing, and we'll practice together, and we see who dominates and who whatnot. But the main group things is just to refresh, right? Then you got those who constantly, almost every day, train and find a system within themselves. And then there's other factions just alter yourself. If you want to be a good player, you have to be naturally have your own system, and then we'll see the results, right? So there's very variance. I personally think in their case, since she's good, she had a system before, it shows, to have that much knowledge, and she's with that Merle, who is a student of the game as well now. He really perfected his game. I think they probably have their own system, and they practice with others, but they don't rely on others to study. They rely on each other and themselves, right? So I think it's separate for their thing, and they just test out the results in group. Personally, that's how I would do it if I was her.
Can that build tensions and little cliques and stuff throughout the season? Maybe our group has some sort of issue with your group, maybe, or maybe we're not as all close to each other because we have our little study cliques. You know what I mean? It could happen. You see it happen in sports, dude. Teams and the dynamic.
I don't think so, because everyone has to pull their own weight, and they do it in different ways. Like I said, can't talk about much, but I know there's one specific. It's a team aspect without the faction, meaning that person has rolling something that there's multiple people working for them just to get that person evolved. I don't see it as a faction problem, because if someone's trying to get better, if you're just complaining about it, that just means you're not putting enough effort on your own, and you're being jealous. So for me, that's an issue. A faction should not be about me, myself, and I, in a sense that you're doing better than me. It should be who can do what and how can you improve. So it could be a problem. I don't think it is, though, because everyone has the same goal of bringing belts into the faction.
Fair enough. Yeah.
All right, and Laura Kelly and Molly Damon. That's a whole different question, though.
Yeah. Because that's something I've been thinking about. Well, I mean, obviously, hey, I'm not giving up any secrets here, but I just joined a fantasy league for Schmoedown that is hosted by Daniel from Schmoes of the North, and so I've been looking at everything, the entire list, and one of the things I keep thinking about every time I see Molly's name is the fact that she lives with and breathes the same air as the fucking guy that seems no one can beat. And so I imagine her knowledge has got to be at least almost equal to his. She does the shows with him. That one, I'm really interested in seeing what she can do here.
Yeah, and we got a bridge time for this one, so I'll try to go fast on this one. But for me, a lot of people are going to say, oh, it's a bit like, Mara and Dan. No, it's not, because Mara has proven she has an amazing recall. She's a player onto herself that she already made a mark, right? Whereas Molly Damon, she was good, but I'm even though she's married to Damon and she has a good Star Wars knowledge, I don't know if she has the memory recall and the game aspect down to an art to be really considered as a superpower. And instead of just like, oh, she's associated with this guy, she must be good. She maybe has the knowledge. Doesn't mean she's able to spit it out at the right moment.
Fair enough.
Yeah, because all the matches I've seen Molly in, it just seems that she knows it, but it's about gameplay. We've seen this is like with William Bibiani, who may know the knowledge, but just may not know how to play the game. And I think that's where her struggle is. Now, maybe Alex could help her. Maybe her team could help her. But I mean, we haven't seen improvement yet. But maybe we'll see an improvement this match, and maybe give Laura Kelly a run for her money.
Yeah, it's no secret I'm a big fan of Laura Kelly, so I'm rooting for her, and I've been rooting for her to take that title from Alex Damon for a couple of years now. Nothing against Alex, but just big fan of hers.
I kind of want him just to win a few more matches so he can break that Patriots record. Just break that Patriots record, and then he can get it. That's the only request.
Hell yeah. Here in a little bit, here in about about 35 minutes or so, we should have Winston Marshall coming on here. But until then, let's move on to what do we got here. See, even I have to look at the schedule today. We changed it up a little bit. Hard questions actually is what we got coming up next. Where Frenchie and I just I ask a question that let's talk about it.
And just to precise, this is not Frenchie's Corner where we argue all the time. This is more of analytical and philosophy discussion about Schmoedown. Those discussions that might arise anger of certain people, which I never got why. And really talk about it like gentle people.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
But, here we go, guys, with Frenchie's Corner. Or not Frenchie's Corner, hard questions. I'm a little out of it today. I got a lot going on this weekend, man. My car broke down the other day. I don't know what.
Oh, damn.
I had to walk to work in the cold and snow the other morning. It was terrible. But no, the question I wanted to ask you, I was going to ask this last week, but we canceled it to get some more time in with our guest. Were there too many rookies drafted into the Schmoedown? First of all, I was shocked that there were as many drafted as there was because, my original question was, should it have been mandatory for each faction to use their 2 extra picks on rookies? Because I kind of just assumed that there weren't going to be many rookies going, to be honest. And there were a lot of well-liked and well-known and good players who didn't go in the draft. And I don't know. I'm just wondering, man, were there too many rookies drafted?
For me, this is a very easy question. No, I even think there's not enough. And hear me out. It's because, first of all, we saw the rookies went fast and hard. And in the first rounds, right? First, second, third rounds, there was picks that everyone's like, whoa, I thought this was like a 7th round pick. And then there's people who thought it was going to be round 1. And then they got round 4. So it really shows the dynamic Harloff is going for this season. It's the year of new blood. Adam Collins, I think, affected and changed the game forever. That really show you can be a mid-season pickup and change and beat a champion, right? So I think that's what Harloff is going for, and it helps the expansion of of the Schmoedown. But even more important, it really helps JCL. You want too many rookies. You want way too many players for that capacity of being drafted and sign up, because you want a cushion, rest of a cushion to put in JCL, right? So I say it's a really good thing, because it makes sure that we got players. Those who are not drafted can be signed in the minor leagues, and those who really make an impact, or the managers want to do a chance on them, it really gives them the chance to be able to show their thing. And it's not to be mean, but there's certain people like an Ashity. If he would have been on there, I don't think he would have been drafted, right? But I would love to see Ashity in a JCO. It would maybe push down the D level players that has always come up often, because they don't have any other good players, and they're running out of ideas, so they just put a D player again and again, right? And they always lose, so it really avoids having lower quality players, and maybe give them a shot in the actual level playing field in the minors. So the more rookies we have, the better, in my opinion.
Right. I haven't taken a side on this either way, but my questions when I think about it are, it's the league is just starting to really take off now. You know what I mean? It's been around. We're in our 8th season now, but it's really over the last 2-3 seasons, last two and last season especially, starting to take off. Got Skybound behind it now. And you're bringing in, and yes, for the new fans who are coming in, fresh faces aren't going to matter that much, because they're just starting to get used to these people anyway. And the hardcore fans, they're not going to budge, because they're hardcore fans and they're in it for the long haul. But you're going to have maybe some of those people in the middle who they don't know these fresh faces, and it's frustrating for them. And maybe I mean, you never know. What if the majority of the rookie class gets walked all over, and it's not it's not a competitive type thing. And I'm not, obviously I'm not saying there should be a cap on the amount of rookies that should be drafted. I'm just thinking it's a little lopsided, and maybe that could cause some issues in the future.
Well, no, I agree what you're saying, but for me, the more diversity in types of players, types of personalities, types of gender and backgrounds and orientations, etc., the more you can find someone who associates to that new person. But what you need for it is new injections all the time, right? And it permits having a dynamic that changes every season for certain factions until they find their key, right? There's a faction that already found their key, kept it, which is corruption. They don't need recycling. But you got things like, quirky mercs. It really gives them an advantage to kind of cycle through who they want to, sign up and involve with, because they have 2 good players and a good superstar, but that's it. That's really what they got. So certain teams need to go through that process to start finding their foundations of the faction and build out a championship team. So I think it's a really good thing. I don't think, personally, next season, I hope we don't have that big of a list. I think it's unique to this season. The injection, I think there's a couple of players are nearing their retirement phase, right? You're getting a phase that we might lose very soon, couple of players. So they're making sure that, there's a lot of players to replace them in maybe 2-3 years. But then next year, I think we're going to see a smaller size, but still a good size of rookies that always going to be injected until there's a next wave of potential retirements.
Right. And I know Christian said before, and he's right, that this is not a traditional sport, but still looking at it from a sports in general aspect, you can only really compare it to traditional sports. So in that sense, it just, I don't know. I would think that this is the big show, and I always go back to baseball because that's my jam. But this is the big show, and the point of it is to win. And the point of it, and the way you win is by having players that wouldn't. In other words, without me talking for 5 minutes, wouldn't it be more beneficial to look at these rookies that have been drafted as they develop in the minor leagues as opposed to trying to develop and see what they have in the big show where it really costs you?
Maybe eventually, but it's not like the talent pool has been so tapped. It's not like a professional sport like a MLB that you really have to go in the depths of wait for that 16-year-old to become an 18-year-old. There's still a lot to be explored. So imagine if Collins would have had to start in a JCL first. Corruption wouldn't be champion, right? So there's certain players that are hidden gems, and Christian knows they're hidden gems that they don't need to be JCL. And I think that's what the fun thing is of having the draft, and those who are left going JCL. It's up to the managers to figure out if they're gems or not. If they're as we would say in hockey, I play NHL 2020 almost all day, right? And there's something called NHL ready, like player ready, that you got people that you draft in the second round, but it can start next season, not a problem. And then you've got other people in the first round that are fucking amazing. They are, sniper elites, but they're not ready for the big boys until maybe next 2-3 years. So it's up to the managers to figure out who those players are, and those who are left behind are going to have a shot to prove themselves in JCL and then go up. So I actually find it's a good balance of also testing the skills, the drafting skills of the faction managers.
Fair enough. Let's bring Dan back in and get his take on this. What do you think of all this?
Okay, so now to kind of give a little behind the scenes, I did actually submit an audition tape. I did not get drafted. And I think that's a good reason because, when you're looking for good rookies, you want someone who really knows their movieology. And I feel like Christian chose the players that are the cream of the crop. And, when you have these rookies, we don't know what they are. We don't know what they're going to do because we haven't seen their audition. We haven't seen what they can do. So we're already making a judgment like, oh, they're not going to do it. We were, like last week, we said the Finstock Exchange was going to do bad, but you know what? We don't know what they're going to do.
Hey, you guys said it. I didn't.
I said it was risky. I want to say it was risky. I didn't say, but I will say that we don't know what they're going to do, and I think that because, like you said, Frenchie, just before, the managers have to kind of sort through all of that stuff, and they have to pick based on what the rookies are able to bring to their faction. So I think that was there too many rookies? No, because this is going to grow the league, and now we're going to have a minor league. So we're basically getting double the entertainment that we usually get. So I think that we have a good enough rookies to grow the league, to give us more entertainment and more competition. And more competition means more entertainment for us. So it's good business. It's good all around. I'm not concerned at all.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It's true, right? It's again, it's not like the sport's been in existence for very long, and there's always there's an ever growing pool, right? Christian has to really find those potential rookies, because we're not talking about 500 players. We're talking about 20, 100 something rookies that are best cream of the crop. But again, this is, I think, only for this season to really inject because there's way too much recycling at one point, I find. Certain players that, are okay, but they kind of got selected because, there's not that much selection. By doing an overflow of rookies, you won't have that much of a recycle of, we got no choice, put him on, right? And it's going to really even make it more important to win. Because this is now you have really something to prove. If you lose and lose badly, you might have another shot, and you probably will. But if you screw that up too, there's 1,000 other rookies are there to jump on it, right? So it really cranks up the level of importance of studying, understanding the game, and not just fly with it, right? I'm good, I know what I know. I think I know what I know doesn't fly anymore.
Right.
Starting with this season.
I'm glad Christian didn't draft me because I would not be ready for it, especially with my schedule.
And it's again, I can't talk about it too much, but for what I know of a sort of specific type of training, it's intense. It is intense. It is now. It's not just let's check what I'm good at. Yeah, exactly. This is at the level now, what I would really consider as a professional sport, studying for the highest professional level. It goes to extreme measures that most people's brains after a day would be like, this is too much. They do it every day. They do it every day, every week, every month at a level that would be exhausting for a lot of people. That's what sets off, I think, for this season. Everyone's gonna have to be like that if you want to progress. If you're not, I don't think you're gonna advance. That's how high the talent pool is right now.
Oh yeah, and it's going to be very interesting to watch. And I don't know, maybe some of my concerns are all about nothing, but we'll find out. But right now we're going to move on for our numbers guy here, Dan. He's going to take us through his sexy numbers. What do you got for us this week, Dan?
Well, first let's start off with some definitions. I want to clarify what the difference between win points are and match points. Win points are the points that a competitor wins after they've won their match, hence the name win points. Match points are the scores that each competitor earns during their match. So it's basically the score. So if I earn 30 points and Jay earns 29, I get 30. My match point is 30. Jay Wade's is 29. And I would win whatever win points division we're in. So, having that said, is there a simpler way to have a simpler point system rather than the point system we currently have or previously have with the match points, the total accumulation of match points? So let's bring that up. So with corruption, they were in first place with both point systems from 2020 and the current point system, and they've earned the most with 794. In second place is the Fin Stock Exchange, which was in second place with 21 of the new point system, but they were in fourth place with the old point system. In second place was Swag. In third place, Swag earned 727 points cumulative. They were also in third place with the new point system as previous in the second column, but that's definitely they definitely went lower because they were in second place with the old system. In fourth place, the Quirky Mercs, they were in fifth place with the 2020 point system. They were in fifth place with the 2021 system, but they are in fourth place with the match point system using the 2020 scores. The Rock Stars, who were in third place with the 2020 point system, they were also in fourth place with the 2021 point system. They dropped significantly to fifth place with 601 points, and the Quirky Mercs had 606 points. I don't think I said that. The Den, who was in sixth place with the 2020 point system. The Den, who was in sixth place with the 2020 point system. Sorry, they were in eighth place with the 2021 point system. They actually go back to sixth place with 409 points. The Dungeon, who was in seventh place, they were in seventh place all around with 22 points in the 2020 point system, 16 points in the 2021 point system, and 397 match points using the match point system. The Usual Suspects, basically no one else changes. Usual Suspects remain in eighth place with 383 points, and the Burning Droogs are in ninth place with 322 points. So we can take that off now. Now, the reason why I did this is because I want to see if this was an easier way to track it. And there are some advantages to this. One, you keep all the factions who lose matches remaining competitive, despite the fact that they lose. They can actually still have points. They can still have a horse in the points race. But there are several disadvantages. For one thing, it doesn't create much excitement Because if you can say, well, the Burning Druids still have a chance, it really doesn't matter if we win or not, because we can still get 1 point different. A 1 point difference, it doesn't matter. A loss is just a loss. It doesn't matter. Another thing is that if this is actually also disadvantage with the regular point system, but this is actually a big disadvantage compared to the point system, the win point system. Factions may not be able to climb far enough. For example, we've seen the Rock Stars, and I'm using that correctly because it was last season. The Rock Stars climbed all the way up to third place. We've seen that no matter what, the Rock Stars would still be very low behind. They wouldn't be able to climb up to third place, even though they are behind and they can't climb up. So I feel that this is actually the point system, the win point system, is the better option because you are highlighting the wins rather than and you're keeping it more competitive. It is, and it makes the factions be hungrier to win, and it just creates better entertainment for us as consumers. So let's bring Jay Wade. So let me get his thoughts on this. So what do you think? Do you think that they should change to a match point system or a win point system?
I think they should change it to a scoring system that I understand, like baseball or football or something like that. No, I've never understood the whole from like the MMA, boxing, wrestling to like the rankings and the stats. Okay. It's just all of that is never made sense to me, man.
I kind of know it, but I'm starting to understand it. Now that I actually can study it for myself, I am actually learning it. But even I was like you, like maybe just a few years ago, I was like, how do they figure out these rankings and stuff? But I'm starting to learn it, and I have a system that actually produces that result. And I will say this, the new ranking system formula that I have for this coming season, is different from last season. And it was last season, Christian just kept announcing different points, and I'm like, why? Why are you? I did all this hard work. Why do you have to change it? Now I have to re-change it. Fortunately, I didn't have to change too much this season. All I have to do was just change, I think, the TKOs. Those were the only things I really had to change, but I figured it out, and I think it's going to be pretty accurate the season going forward.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm looking for. I say this every week, but I'm looking forward to when the matches actually start, because then I think it'll start. If we can start with a clean slate, and I can see weekly the points, and as the ranking systems,
and that's what I'm going to do next week. Is I'm going to reveal with the current matches that we have scheduled, where everybody's at, and then once those matches air, once the match of the week airs, you're going to see the bars go up. You're going to see the bars shrink, and you'll learn it over time. Like, okay, this is what this means, and you'll start to pick up on it. You'll start to see patterns, and I hope our audience will pick up. You will pick it up because you can actually compare and contrast what happened from the previous week if you go follow me on Twitter.
Do that, everybody. Double D and his sexy numbers, everybody. Let's bring Frenchie.
I don't need a Roxy Stryer sound clip, Frank. Just saying.
Yeah. We do need a sound clip of Roxy, and so I might work on that. I got some other thoughts brewing in my head. I'm gonna make come true. Let's bring Frenchie back up here. Is he back?
He's back. Maybe he's taking care of his baby. Oh wait,
I'm back. I'm just slow, guys. I'm slow.
Right. Well, every time I try to do your job and push the buttons, I end up messing you up. So I'm sitting here like, come on, dude, what's going on? Hurry up.
I'm back. Stop complaining.
But now, actually, Dan, you get the hell out of here because Frenchie's corner is about to go down. This is all Frenchie's segment here. What do we got going on this week, man?
Well, I'll let, like usual, the ticker speak for me. Give me a quick second. Like I said, I'm slow. And bada boom. What would you name? Who would you name captain for each faction? Right. So this is something that Christian brought up. Every faction is gonna have a captain, and it makes sense. In sports, you have captains. You have people who can lead the charge. Not necessarily the best players. Some teams have incredible scores, but sometimes they go on personality, and sometimes it's the best player as well. So there's a different approach to captains you can have for every team, depending what you have as a core, right? So that's what I wanted to discuss you about is who should that core be in every team, and what aspect should he base it on, right? So instead of going like your picks and my picks, I would like actually to go faction by faction, and we both give our picks. Are you okay with that?
Sounds good to me, buddy. Let's do it.
Okay, so let's start with corruption. Shannon Barney's faction. You got a lot of good players here, right? You got a lot of good potential, but for me, there's one and only choice, and it would be a sacrilege not to do it or not to name him as a captain. That would be Mike Kalinowski.
I completely agree with you. Which
Holy shit!
I'm shocked you said that because I'm the one who was arguing that they are the power couple, and you were like, "There are no such things, and they're not a power couple." I was
They're not
like Ellison or something like that, but no, absolutely Kalinowski. Shannon Barney is the queen, and yeah, he's the king. But the queen rules in this situation. But yeah, dude, obviously it has to be Kalinowski.
Yeah, it does, because I still don't think there's power couples out there, or if they are. We settled this before, but
we did not settle it, dude.
we settled it because I'm right. That being said, for me, Kalinowski should still be captain because he's the original corruption guy.
Right.
He started this goddamn thing. He put everything on his shoulders. He is personally not the best player on the team anymore, because that would be Collins personally. But he's still a solid player. And also, he is probably the one who has the most experience. So for me, it's a logical train of thought for making him captain. But the power couples and stuff like that has nothing to do, my friend, because it doesn't exist.
Whatever.
All right, so
for once, dude, we agree on something.
All right, so let's go for swag. Now, my choice is a bit less obvious because Paul Liama, Lon Harris, they're good, but I think you need to find the yin to Winston's yang. And for me, Winston's very energetic. He's very goofy, but very precise at the same time. You want the precise, you want the seriousness of it, but you want someone who can really bring the other side, the level-headed side. And for me, Ace Cabrera should be the captain.
Dude, where is the camera, dude? Because my list right here says Ace should be the captain of Swag. What is going on, buddy? I mean, I could almost hug you through the computer right now. I don't know what's going on.
We're in tune. We're in tune, my friend. I think we
just because he is laid back. He's serious. He's determined. Not that no one else on that team is determined, but he's serious, determined. Mm-hmm. He ain't messing around, dude.
And he always says the right things at the right moments, right? There's times I remember when he won, it's like, yeah, I won, but I missed this question, I'm not happy myself, right? He doesn't go like, oh, that person sucks, I'm better than them, or if he beats them, he doesn't gloat over it. And I think that's what Swag kind of needs, because there's really big personalities. There's, you got Zipper now, you got Shandru, you got the people who are going to be in your face, but you need also someone to rein things back down and say, okay, we're good, but let's still check ourselves. And for me, that person to do it is Ace, because he does it for himself. So imagine what he can do for the group.
Yeah, I cannot argue that, man.
All right, the stars. The stars for me is a bit more of a question mark, because Jeff Snyder, as much as he's an amazing player, he gives up too easily. For me, a captain should not be someone who who lets emotion take over. And Roxy had to play for him often in a sense that she had to kind of put him back in his place. And that's not someone you want as a captain. That's someone you want as a player. So for me, Alex Damon should be the captain.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I did not go that route. For me, the team captain should not be baby heel Hannah. But in all seriousness, though, in my mind, there's only one person to do it, and that's Mark Andreyko. He's very calm, cool, collected.
He's not that calm and cool. He look at his championship match. He actually gave up before Snyder. He actually was like depressed and like, you know, they are an odd couple. They're very different, but they're kind of alike in the same way that when they're very optimistic, they're very optimistic. When they're very like in the juice, they both let go very easily. You need someone who is a champion in his own right, but also never breaks, never seems nervous. Damon, okay, never seems nervous. He's like, okay, let's roll with the punches. Let's see what we have, right? And he has that presence of a captain, whereas Jess Snyder and Draco are good players, but I don't think has the feeling. Like when I think about sports, right? When I think about teams, I don't see their characters actually fitting a captain like and leading. That's the thing. You want someone who leads the charge. And for me, leading the charge is a legend. If for them would be a legend as Alex Damon.
What you're saying makes sense. However, in my mind, I would still go with Andreyko over because of his experience and his time spent in the Schmoedown over Damon's. And you talk about, you know, someone to lead the charge. That's not always necessarily true in every case. In this case, I would say, even though she's the manager, Roxy is the one who leads the charge, and Mark Andreyko would be the guy who keeps everyone together. I think that would be his role more in there. That's how I visualize it.
But again, if we're taking sports, Roxy Schreier is the GM. Now that's the thing; she's leading the charge because she has no choice but to lead the charge.
She's the man.
But if we're looking at sports aspect, right? On a team, you would have captains, you could have trainers. But right now, what the stars like, how the thing is set up is the managers choose the rosters and everything. So we can't even say they're the coach, right? The coach has nothing to say with the roster. Basically, their role right now are GMs, right? So I'm sure Roxy would love to pass the baton of responsibility to lead the charge because that's not necessarily her job. I
think she relishes in that. I think that's what makes her the proudest of what she's built, is that she is the one who leads it all, and she's the mastermind. She's great at it.
She could put her energy somewhere else. That's the thing. So she doesn't have to do it. She should concentrate on other things, and that's mainly because of Jess Snyder and Mark Andreyko. She has to do it for Mark Andreyko as well. So I don't see Mark Andreyko getting past that baton, or at least, you know, taking off the load a bit of that responsibility. Maybe Roxy loves doing that, which is cool. But again, she has a lot more things to fry. So I think you should choose someone who can really take on a bit of that responsibility. For me, Andreyko, as much as a veteran and an OG of the game, I don't think personally I see him do that. I see a lot more Damon doing that.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. You ain't gonna change my mind, but right on.
I never expect to do, but one day my wish will be accomplished. Finstock and change. Okay, this is an interesting one here.
This shit show, shit show point two.
No. I cannot wait for them to start winning and you shutting your mouth.
If they win, I will shut my effing mouth about them and his horrendous, mind-boggling draft. I don't understand what the hell is going on.
But again, I'm not saying they're going to win the whole thing. But what I'm saying is it's going to work a lot more in their favor. It's going to walk.
Enough to prove me wrong. Like, he needs to do good enough to prove me wrong.
which I think is not that much of a hard stretch. Like again, my first pick was the Den because the question was last week who did the best draft. But since I knew already, because your big mouth told me the day before by accident, and you're too slow to delete your Facebook messages, so I actually saw your answer. I decided to go with something that for me the best strategy. It's something that's so different, and I really think that they're gonna do something interesting because there's a lot of gaps, and that's what people are not thinking, right? There was a lot of gaps when it came to the interviews and the analytics done by certain people. We can only do so much at a certain time, and that's the thing that's a bit double-edged sword with the fan shows taking a bit of charge on profiling certain people. We only profile the people who we can have contact with, right? And there's a lot of people like Amaru. He was left and right trying to find people, trying to expand the word, right? And it worked for him, definitely. But there's some that, didn't get approached or did not have time to approach the interview show. So they were not on no one's radar, but they had a time to at least talk to managers, or one manager that would be Finstock, because he took the time to contact everyone. So there's holes here and there that, they might be amazing players, but they just didn't have the chance to get covered. So because of that, I think Finstock found those people. Maybe not all of them. He said it himself. John Rokas himself. There's 3 people they're targeting for to break the game, right? Plus with John Roca, JT, and Greg Greg, the Barbarian. So right now they're looking for 6 players, top main players, and 3 of them are people that people got overlooked but deserved a shot. So I really think it's going to work. That being said, John Roca should be the goddamn captain, without a doubt.
I agree with you on that one as well, sir. Not only because he's pretty much the only person I think is qualified. Not that Barbarian's not, but I don't think he has the experience yet. When you stack experience up against Roca and Barbarian are the only 2 that I would feel comfortable in that position. On Finstock Exchange, it's got to be Roca.
It's got to be Roca. If not, it's round 4 draft all over again. Roca's ego is going to get back into the Finstock's face. Now the quirky mercs. Look, Bibiani, I love the guy, but not a captain. He's a mastermind of the game, but he has a big personality that needs his ego to be flat in a certain way. And for me, a captain, a good captain anyways, that is not just based on accolades, but based on, who can rally people around him. For me, it's not Bibiani. And as much as I love Brendan Meyer, he's really good. And I think he's a future captain, but we would give it more because of his accolades. I actually take someone else who I think naturally is probably the most loved person of anywhere in Schmoedown and could really rally people. No, she's not the best player. She has the best personality that you can't say anything wrong against Perry Nemiroff.
Yes, same thing, dude. Same one on my list. And for this one, she is the obvious choice for Quirky Mercs. For everything you just said, dude, she's just so great. How could you not take advice or guidance from her and not take it seriously? She's so good, man. And I don't even mean as a player. I'm just talking as a human being, as a person, the way she presents herself, very well organized, hard worker. It's great, man. It's great.
Just talk about Roca. I completely agree. But Nemiroff, again, her story is amazing. She was a baby face of the year, comeback player in a sense. Also, no one gave her a shot, not even herself. She didn't believe in herself. And then when she started winning, she's like, oh my God, I can do this, right? But the love she has for the game, even though she doesn't also believe in herself, is amazing. But she really portrays the best example of what Quirky Mercs is. And that's what captains should be. The kid is the next best person, but for her, she embodies Quirky Mercs. And you want somebody that embodies the philosophy of that team. They're not necessarily heavy hitters, but they're people that are never going to give up, and they're always cool to hang around with. And for me, that's Nemiroff, 145%.
Yep, agreed.
Now, next one, and this is going to be also an interesting one to try to demystify which one would be the best. And for me, that's the Den. Okay, this is interesting. You got big personality like Paul Preston, cocky bastard, and extraordinaire Goddard. You got, Duralde, you got Saul, Mark Riley. I still think I'm going to make two choices. For me, it depends on the philosophy. If you want to go around experience, knowledge, and just being there since day one, Mark Riley. If you want to go with someone who is so smart and so intelligent, and they probably can digest the game faster than anyone else, you actually do a surprise move and you do Thomas Harper.
That's interesting. I again going with I'm big on the experience. I'm going with Mark Riley as team captain for the Den. To me, that one just makes sense. I mean, you know how damn impressed I am with Thomas Harper, dude.
Yeah.
But again, I highly value the experience because it's nothing to take away from the rookies or new people, but we don't have anything to base anything off of, and that's the only hesitation.
I'm going as his actual experience, in a sense, like his life experience. Okay. What he does as a background. He's an attorney, like a military attorney, right? That's the type of person that can take charge, no matter what the subject is. He can take charge.
Wait a minute. Thomas Harper is a military attorney.
If I'm not mistaken, he's a military man, and I think he's an attorney,
like Tom Cruise style and shit.
Yeah. So if I'm not mistaken,
handle the truth.
Yeah. So like that kind of like background for me screams as captain. So we're gonna go fast because we don't want to be too late, and we got 2 factions left. So let's keep it short. The usual suspects. I honestly think that it was between Ethan Irwin and Drew McQueenie. McQueenie has a past with Sam Levine. He's starting to get his character down. He definitely has his knowledge down. You just have to find the right partner. So for me, Drew McQueenie is the obvious choice for the captain.
Maybe it's because I like sassy broads and because she's the only chick with red hair that I really dig. But I think Stacey Howard, man, that's who I got to go for.
If McQueenie wasn't there, definitely. But you got freaking McQueenie. It's freaking McQueenie.
Yeah, but he didn't play last year.
And so did Mara, right? And they're still rooting for Mara.
Yeah, but I would be the captain. So, and that argument means shit to me.
Oh, all right.
This
So
one I think we're going to very much be different on.
Oh, you never know. I'm going to go straight to the point. For me, the dungeon, Ben Bateman.
No. It has to be Molly Damon. Yes, it has to be Molly Damon. I don't think Robert Parker is the right fit for it. You got, dude. It can't be Bateman, dude. He has too big of a fucking ego. We don't need exchange shit show happen. Hold on. Happening in the dungeon.
We gotta wrap it up. So
Moore is another huge personality, big ego. He's out for revenge. We need a team captain who is going to be able to not have drama. And I see if one of those two, being Merle or Bateman, are team captains, dude, I think that there's going to be some tension. I think there's going to be some future shit that goes down. We do not need that here.
I would agree if we would have the same problem as Finstock, where you have like 4 or 5 egos at the same time. Right now, you look at the dungeon, the only other ego that there is Jericho, and he refuses right now to play for Kaiser, and even then, I don't think it would clash with Bateman. But Bateman is the only ego, and he's a directing ego. He has an ego because he knows where he's going. He doesn't have an ego just because he has an ego. He's a papa's ass sometimes, and I love it about him. But he's the only ego on there, and he's a useful ego. He's a captain type of ego. Dude, so for me, Ben Bateman.
I love Ben Bateman, dude. I've said for like 3 years that I want him to be the first ever player manager in the history of Schmoedown. I still want that next season. Give it to us. But I'm just, dude, his ego is not a good kind of ego. He wins, yes, but dude, I think it's a toxic kind of ego that sours people around him if he's given too much power with that to wield that ego. And I think that's a part of what happened in Finstock Exchange. Molly Damon is the choice, dude.
It's a part, but that's the part that's missing. That's there's other egos trying to control. Too many chefs crashes the fucking kitchen. Now you got only one chef in the kitchen, and he knows where he's going. And for me, Bateman is the only choice. And you're wrong. And it doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what you say. It's gonna only matter what Mr. Winston says. It probably got Winston.
Yes, Winston Marshall, everybody. Let's bring Winston Marshall up here and Double D back. Winston Marshall, manager of Swag. How are you doing, buddy? feel free to add your 2 cents to anything. feel free.
Here's the thing. I honestly don't, and this just goes to show how hectic life has gotten. I'm very on top of what's going on with the faction. We actually have our first full faction meetup this afternoon. Otherwise, it's just kind of been checking in with the 2 matches, obviously coming up immediately. But like, I barely know what's going on with the captain stuff because Christian doesn't always tell us stuff. Like most of the time, he does tell us up front, but a lot of times we have to find out from watching a stereo show, and I can't listen to Christian all day. Not because I have anything against listening to Christian all day, but like I'm working. So like I get it. Like sometimes I'm like, cool, I'll listen, and sometimes I don't. So did he explain fully what the captains are supposed to do? Because all I know is that I was supposed to be looking for an assistant manager, but now I guess I have to assign somebody captainship. What is supposed to be their function? Because then I can answer this question pretty easily.
Last time I've heard is really someone they're going to elect captain. The role of the captain's still in the air, but there's
Okay.
But for what we heard is potentially captains on teams, which would make sense because on a sports team you would have a captain,
Sure.
to row. And for me, I think maybe the role won't be established. It's going to be the managers to establish that role because a captain can mean a lot of things. It can just be a role model as much as it can be someone who leads the studying groups. It can mean different things depending on who you elect. Just to let you know, I want Jay-Way to say his selection. I actually think in our choices that you missed, I selected Ace to be your captain, to be the yin to your yang.
Interesting.
As did I.
Interesting. That's
I
Double D. What was your pick?
I think Paul Oyama.
Okay.
I think he has. Ace knows a lot about Star Wars. I no doubt about that. Inner geekdom, obviously he knows stuff, but he needs to work on that. I think you need someone who knows the game overall, and I think Paul Oyama could actually do that. And I think that's a perfect fit for Paul Oyama.
That is why I needed to know what the point of this is. If the point of it is how things are moving, then my answer is it is a co-captainship between Paul and Chandru. If the point of the captainship is to just be the face, then I would say that it's Ace. It depends on what we're talking about here, because that's why without knowing, I really don't know. Like, I mean, I'm not going to give away the farm. I know I use that phrase a lot when people ask, but it is my left and right hand are Paul and Chandru. Like, period. Like, as far as making things move, they both have stepped up immensely, and they are so on top of it as far as like helping me organize things, figuring out study stuff, like et cetera, et cetera. The 2 of them have been completely invaluable, and it's part of it, like 1,000%. Why, like, if I feel like I'm getting a little overwhelmed because I have other things outside of the Schmoedown to take care of, one of the 2 of them is instantly like, yeah, no worries, I got it. Now, everybody in the faction last season did that. Everybody in the faction was like, yo, brother, do your thing. Or if they needed something, we all came together as a family, as a unit. And that's why I'm excited about this first meet and greet with the full faction, so we can reestablish that same, like, I don't plan on moving through the Schmoedown without a similar base, like without having that. The faces are different, but I want the same camaraderie, the same love and fellowship. And those that are not with us anymore, that are on other factions or have left the game or whatever, they are still a part of us no matter what. Like if they ever need me or anybody on it, we're there for each other. So I'm very excited about that. But I to that point, I agree. If you're talking about the energy that Swag puts out, you would say 1,000% Ace if we're talking about who is the face of what's going on there. But if you're talking about like the full, like, okay, got it, and like a lot of the heavy lifting, I give it to those two. And I wouldn't pick one. Christian would have to accept that they're co-captains because they both equally pull their weight in that regard. So that would be my answer.
Chandra would be my second choice, but if I had to choose one, over one, it would be Paul. But I'm not gonna. You obviously are the manager, so.
No, fair. No, but everybody's entitled to have their opinion. That's fine. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's not a big deal.
Well, speaking of Ace here, and I got a specific question here for you now.
Sure.
A lot of people were surprised that you picked Ace as late in the draft as you did.
Mm-hmm.
Double D's over there, like I wasn't surprised. A lot of people were surprised. Now, I just was wondering, could you take us through your thought process going up to the draft, as far as not just Ace, but like your thought process as far as who you would pick and what rounds, and maybe hoping that Ace would still be there at that point, or maybe you had a little inside info that he would be. I don't know.
There's a couple things. There was a couple things going on at the same time. Some that I can talk about, some that I can't. The main thing is, and this is the biggest thing for anybody that's ever played fantasy football or done any sort of situation where you were in a draft situation, et cetera, et cetera. There's obviously the loyalty element of certain things that comes into play, but I think the biggest thing that you have to realize, especially, like, it'd be one thing if the stakes 1,000% were the same as they were last season, but they're not now. Now we're actually playing for like serious money, things like that. It always comes down to a value situation. So if you've done fantasy football before, it is not normal for quarterbacks to go in the first round. It doesn't make logical sense. You go for running backs. The reason why is like they a lot of times get hurt easier. They're not as this. You can only play one quarterback in most leagues, right? So that means that if you're in a 14-team league, only the top 14 quarterbacks really matter anyway, and only one or two of them are at some crazy elite level that you're like, they're untouchable. Like if you get them, they might go in the second or third round, right? The rest of them can fall whenever. Same with defenses, same with tight ends, et cetera, et cetera. So essentially what was going into it, in all honesty, the plan was, knowing how small the IG category is as far as players that are ready to take that next step. An IG player, especially an IG player that had utility, that like could play on a singles or teams, that like a dominant IG player, was always going to be our first round decision. And then what was going to be the second round decision was essentially going to be the loyalty pick, and that what we were going to do with Ace. Now, what I noticed happened immediately, because we thought that we may not even get Ace in the first round, that like I was watching how people were picking and watching you cannot, if all four of us are drafting, I can't read your mind, but I can pick up on patterns. And I started to see both A, what people were filling their slots with, and B, who they were taking. And I was like, oh, they are not following any sort of thing that would make logical sense in my mind. They're doing something completely different. And the fact that Ace didn't disappear in that first round, and didn't even in that little gap where Kate had 2 picks in between us, I was like, oh, they have devalued him, which is bullshit. Because I know that Ace can easily beat every single person in the Star Wars division. You give him the time and the resources that he needs. Ace has proven it already, and he can do it again. So knowing that, I realized that if they weren't going to put that, like, I know it sounds backwards to say then why wouldn't I take him immediately? If I know that they're going to think of him as an afterthought in a fucked up way, if that makes sense from a value standpoint, I was like, I'm going to take a risk here, because we need to make sure that from top to bottom we're polished. You know what I'm saying? It's already been made very clear that Star Wars, you're going to need to Ace, no pun intended, 2 Ace Star Wars players to survive this season, because we've already been told that there is going to be a larger Star Wars tournament where you will probably be putting up 2 players. So if I put myself in a position where, like, great, I grab Ace, but then all the other super high tier Star Wars players are gone, then I'm screwed. And so my mentality literally came from, if they're genuinely believing that Ace isn't like a top 5, if not higher Star Wars player, if that's genuinely where their mind's at right now, I can run the risk of maybe getting him later. In the same way that, like, you look at Aaron Rodgers in football and you go, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is cutting it close. Like, I think Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback, right? But everybody else is like, I think he's outside the top 10, and he falls and he falls and he falls. It's one of those situations that you're not doing it as a personal thing, as a personal slight. You're doing it because I can go and get a super elite player in, like, because I believe before Ace I grabbed Vinny, if I'm not mistaken. So I can grab a Vinny, and I know Ace is, like, it's going to be available. You know what I'm saying? It's not like people have to understand something. When I took Ace last season, Ace was my 10th pick. The order in which you get picked honestly doesn't mean shit. I didn't even ask on this. It doesn't mean shit, because guess what? Adam Collins was picked up in free agency. He wasn't even drafted. So, like, miss me with this draft order stuff. That is all ego. That, at the end of the day, that is all ego. And I know that sounds differently when you're the one being drafted, but it's 1,000%. At the end of the day, it's a matter of, like, as we've seen, your 10th round pick can be your most valuable player, period. Tom Brady didn't get drafted in the first round. Tom Brady was drafted in, like, the 5th. And he is the greatest quarterback of all time at this point. So it's a matter of what you do with it more than anything else.
It's a matter of, like, you don't draft necessarily the best players. You draft the players that you need as a missing link to the puzzle of your faction, right? So you can have this amazing person, but you see, like, already have another amazing person in that category. It will kind of clash and serve no purpose. But I have a weakness in Star Wars. Let's say I'm going to get someone else. No disrespect for that amazing person, but I don't need you. So that's the draft.
It's a number of things, because, again, think about it this way. Laura Kelly is 2 seconds away from a belt. She literally plays a number 1 contender match. She wins that, then she plays for the belt. She could literally be the champion within a month. So why would if points are so important, like, she's automatically geared up to get anywhere from 4 to 11 points, if not more, to start off the gate. B, she's one of the absolute best Star Wars players that we've ever seen. And then C, again, looking at the Ace situation, Ace is also one of those players, but based off of what happened, we haven't even been told yet, like, what they're, like, where he's going to be placed up against, when he's going to match again. To know an automatic match, why don't you take it? On top of the fact, why do I just let Corruption automatically get what they want? You're just going to give them back a number 1 contender match. Like there's so much more at play here. And people that are saying that I was disrespecting Ace, understand that not only did I make sure to text him before it happened, as soon as I did get him back, the draft is over, I called him and I was like, hey, let me explain what's going on. It's not a personal shit at all. Like, I want to make sure that this squad rolls, and we needed two homies. Like, that's, in order to work, we need, like, if people use that same logic with singles, you'd be like, let's say, who's a good example? Let's say with I don't know, my brain's not working. Let's say the Quirky Mercs, for example, didn't take Kevin Smith right away. Let's say that they had retained Mara instead, and Kevin Smith was there and all that kind of stuff. And let's say they took Mark Riley before they took Kevin Smith, but then eventually got Kevin Smith. That's from a standpoint of, if they knew that people may not try and go after Kevin Smith because it's like he's a celebrity, he only talks to Koi, whatever. Why would you then not take that out? If you know that you could get him in round 7 because people aren't going to touch him, but he's still valued at a round 1 player, why wouldn't you take all those other amazing players that are available that might not be there? That's risk. It's a risk. It is a risk. And it was yeah, go ahead.
That's what happened with. Sorry, I'll make it short because I know Dan wants to talk about that, but I have to say something for that. That's why Jericho got picked up, because I think Kaiser's holding him hostage for a trade, right? So I think he wanted to avoid being held hostage in order to have to do a move to get him back. That's why you kind of resign. Is if you really want that player, you might have to cough up big to have him, like Roxy will have to do for Jericho.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the case. If she ultimately wants to bring Jericho back onto the team, because it's clear that they have like a good relationship and whatnot, but she could be very excited, and it sounds like she is about the 12 players that she has, and that's not a knock against Jericho at all. But then like, what if she's super excited about someone she took in like the Twitter rounds of the draft, and now she like potentially has to sacrifice them for that? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you have no idea where things are. So like even people have been asking like, oh, did he just do that to make Laura Kelly trade bait? Well, no. I personally were drafting people that I saw not only inherent value, but I believe in. I specifically put people on my team that I want to get to know better, that I want to be there to support, and that I believe in. I believe in every single person on my team, period. I don't care if you were signed beforehand or if you were the last person to draft. That's why people were asking, like, there were a lot of people that, weren't touched, and like, you took Frank Moran. Well, yeah, because Frank Moran, for what y'all don't know, Frank showed up to every single practice, whether he was involved or not. Frank was always there. Frank was always checking in on people. Frank was doing all that kind of stuff. That, again, is another one of those loyalty situations, and again, was a gamble. There's a possibility someone was paying attention to his match against James White, realized how lethal he actually is. He just needed another opportunity, and they could have stolen him from us. But I took the calculated risk that I think they're going to look at him being 0-1 in a play-in match, and they may not, see that potential value there. That's why I was willing to take the risk about a little bit later. So it's a matter of risk assessment and loyalty. You can do both, and that's what my draft was. It was both.
Yeah, I was telling these fools for weeks that you were not going to let Ace go. So getting to the draft, continuing the conversation with the draft. What was your conversation with Eric Zipper like before you drafted him?
I didn't have one. I'll be honest.
Oh,
I didn't have one. It was.
Get your back.
I won't lie that like my first thought was to get him and then just to make him sit there, which would be so petty of me. But like the truth is, the truth is he's one of the best players in the Schmoedown period, and I think that it's just a situation that he needs to be given. Kaiser does some great stuff in the dungeon. He's molded champions before. He molded 2. You know what I'm saying? So like I give Kaiser all those props. I think that Eric just needs that kind of like support and belief in him, no matter where he goes. And who knows him better than me? Like, period. Out of everybody in the Schmoedown, like we've been friends since 2007. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those situations that I would expect. That I can bring out the best in him. And that's my aim, is to help my friend get to that point. But, I have to deal with his attitude first, like, again, he's the one that dipped on me. So we'll see what happens.
Go ahead, sorry, Dean.
Okay. So my next question is, the situation that happened at Spectacular was, you had no margin of error. You need to get everything right, and knockouts or TKOs or whatever. But Shannon really did. Obviously, Shannon and Roxy really double teamed on you, because first you had a match with Alex Damon and Ace, and if Ace won, or no, if Alex won, then Corruption won the championship and all that mess. So my question is could Shannon just go, hey, Blondie, I know you don't like me, and I don't like you, but we have a chance here to really stick it to Winston. I know that you gave him that L earlier, he gave you that L, and I know you want to give it back to him. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let Alex Damon be trained by Laura Kelly, because I know you know nothing about Star Wars. And you give me one of your and if you win, you might actually beat Finstock, because I know you want to kick his ass. But you won't hold it unless Adam Collins beats Dan Murrow. So you give me someone on your team to train Adam, not that he needs it, but I want to cover all my bases. And we go for there and we do a little quid pro quo. I knew you weren't as dumb as I claimed to say you were, because we're doing business with you. So my question is,
I was like, "There's a question there."
Yeah,
like,
I even wrote a comment. Double D, finish your question.
Really, quid pro quo actually happened between 2 managers.
As far as what?
as
that
far as
that
like
is
two managers working together to kind of filibuster another one.
I mean, I'll put it to you this way: in the same way that we always that how many times again have you seen, like, LeBron's on the Lakers, but like, yeah, he goes and balls with, Kawhi. He goes and like hangs out with Dwayne Wade when he was still in the league. I know he just retired, like, even though they weren't on the same team. So yeah, it happens all the time. Like, people have to understand, like, obviously, Christian might feel some way about me being on a Schmoedown show saying that but we're all, a lot of us are actually good friends outside of this. So I may on camera be like, "I'll fuck you up," but like outside of it, be like, "Yo, you want this shot?" Like, it's totally fine. And so I think that's the big thing that people don't realize, is that people like have been in the same households and been on opposite factions. People have been, like in like friends forever and on opposite factions, and you're still in contact. So if Laura and Alex were training together, that wouldn't surprise me at all. If like Laura and Molly and Alex were all training together, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those things, depending on what it is. Maybe you hold some cards closer to the chest. So like, I don't think that there's a lot of room, because there's such a finite number of movies for Star Wars. I don't think that that's as big of a deal to have Star Wars competitors train with each other. I also don't think it's as big of a deal to necessarily have like IG in singles, but maybe you're not openly admitting, if like Chandru was training with like Brandon Hanna on opposing factions, maybe they don't let each other know, ooh, like, this particular wheel slice would really fuck me over. Like, you don't do that, but you still might like have like a friendly scrimmage or practice together because you're homies. You know what I'm saying? So like, it just purely depends on what you're talking about.
Okay.
Now, going back a bit on Star Wars, we talked about this a bit, but there's one aspect I want to really push on, is the fact that Star Wars was fun to watch, but this year, it kind of feels like it's its own different beast. There's something in the air that really makes it feel like it's going to be a whole different entire type of game, right? Am I alone in feeling this? And if I'm not, what do you feel? Like, how is it different?
Again, you're not going to get look at what IG's been this entire time. You're not going to get away with just having one ace in the hole, no pun intended. In IG, you're not going to have that in Star Wars either. You need to have a multitude of people that can step up to the plate for a number of reasons. It could be something as simple as Ace just booked a gig on a film and Ace is out for the next 6 months. And he's like, I'm sorry, I could do a match, but I can't study. You know what I'm saying? Then all of a sudden that becomes a thing. And so it's a good thing that you have someone as equally as capable of kicking ass. So it's the same thing. I don't see Chandru losing this belt. So then I need, Jen Kemp. I need Eric Zipper. I need them to step up, and I need Ace to step up in IG and handle business, because I'm going to have to put 2 people in the tournament. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need to have backups to your backups. And the funny thing is, if you can put yourself in a position, like, this is why the dream team, when you think about like the 92 basketball, like Olympic team, the people that were coming off the bench off of that team were also cats that were all stars, that were like championship caliber fucking players. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a matter of everybody is all 99s on Madden, and they can all do work. You're just making a decision about who's going in first, and understanding that is, when you're a team, when you're a unit, that none of that has to do with anything personal whatsoever. You're making certain decisions. Maybe I'm putting up so-and-so first because I'm looking at the field that they might play against, and they've got this record, so they're going to get a better seeding. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe like you put in like Jen over Ace at the starting point of an IG tournament, because Jen is, I believe, 1-1 and Ace is 0-1. You know what I'm saying? So better seeding. Like, again, I think the thing that people don't do, knowing that this is a sport, you're not taking more factors into consideration other than just skill or relationship, because you also don't really know people's relationships other than what you see from us on camera. Like, there's so many different layers to this that I think people do not pay attention to, that if they did, they might understand. Like, I can't stress enough, it's not my team, so I can't go super deep into it. But the one thing that I do know with Stacy last year, people were giving Roxy a lot of shit for not putting Stacy in the tournament. Well, Stacy is a very hardworking, busy person. She didn't have to what I've been told. She didn't have time for an entire tournament. She could do matches here and there, but those tournaments were hard. You won a match, or immediately assign a new match the next week. That's a lot of work. That not just to find scheduling time to be in a match, but to prepare yourself to play in said match. So like people don't take schedules into consideration. They go, how could so-and-so fall so far? Well, maybe a manager or two talked to them and found out, like, real talk, I can probably play once every 3 months. So yeah, exactly. Karl Malone said it himself. I don't care if you call me last. I got the call. Peggy, this is the part of me that's really sad that you're not on Swag this year, because I would love to have these conversations with you all the time.
Yes, sir. We got like one more minute here left in the show.
Sorry.
No, you're cool. I would like you to settle something for us, if you don't mind. Real quick though, before I do that, anyone watching right now, please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Share us, help us out, help us grow here. Also, real quick, we have 3 of your players coming on here within the next 3 weeks, Winston.
Wow.
We got Chandru and Laura Kelly and Ace coming on this month.
Amazing.
So yeah, it's going to be great. But we were talking about this last week, and Frenchie and I especially don't agree. Doug Benson. Now, he was a rookie last season, but he didn't get to compete. Right. Is he still a rookie since he was actually – because my argument is that even though he didn't play, last year was his rookie season, and you don't get 2 rookie seasons.
But Jay, you annoy the shit out of me. Jay, come on. Look, Jay, okay, we went over this. If you got a rookie drafted in a sports team, but he got injured and he didn't play his match, technically in the other season after, the time he actually goes on ice and has his first game, that's considered his rookie season. Yeah, so you can't say that.
I want to talk about American sports here in reality.
Hockey is American sport.
That's the thing, though. To my knowledge, I don't think that there's ever been a situation you can technically get comeback play, and that I think was the argument as to why Ace was not in contention for Rookie of the Year, because he kind of had a one weird 3-person on a team match seasons ago, but they still counted it. They still counted it as a thing. So here's the thing: no, your rookie season is not the season that you first put on the cleats. The rookie season is the first time you were signed to a team. Period. So Doug Benson, he wasted his Rookie of the Year opportunity, but that doesn't mean he can't be Comeback Player of the Year, because he would be technically coming back. So in the same way that, like, in this sport, the biggest injury, honestly, is time. Flip me off all you want.
I'm doing the Jay. I'm doing the Jay.
I was like, Canadians out here saying they so friendly, and you got a little bit of attitude to y'all.
I'm looking at him in the camera.
No.
Out at him like, I got you.
Yeah, like and never would I dare to say fuck. Man, you never know, but you haven't pissed me out enough. And this is not the first time we talked together, so but no, because he annoys the shit out of me sometimes. But I really don't agree with what you said, in the sense that for me, the rookie years when you have your first match, you can be signed, but if you don't have a match at all.
So here's the answer to your question. Here's the simple answer. Doug Benson could have been signed. If you were allowed to be signed, you were not a rookie, period. Rookies are people that have never participated in the Schmoedown, period. That was the rule. And so Doug Benson was allowed to be approached and signed if someone wanted to, but obviously that was not something you were going to go after. Both A, celebrities, it's harder to convince them, and B, you know what I'm saying? Like, you already kind of knew, like, all right, well, he has a connection with Sam, so that might be an automatic, like, whatever. So that's the answer to that question, to be honest with you.
All right, Jay, wait, don't get used to this. You're right. It's okay.
That was my question last week, because I really wasn't sure, and I was of 2 minds of it. And I could see both arguments, but it's like, I really don't know. And one is a traditional sport, but again, he's not a rookie because he's already in the Schmoedown. So I posed the question to these guys because they know more about sports than I do.
Let me ask.
I don't know what, and they were.
Let me ask, because I will admit that, like, I'm doing better about my Schmoedown history, and I go back and watch, but there's a lot that I don't necessarily see. Has Thad Williams ever played a match?
2. He played. I think it was technically 3.
That's fine. The fact that he played any, it makes my question null and void, because that was another example. I knew he was commissioner. I knew that, but I was saying that, like, if he hadn't played one, he was someone we were allowed to approach. I was just going to use him as another example, but if he's played matches, it doesn't matter and it's not important.
I see.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for letting me down, Winston, and making this guy right.
Thank you. The very last thing, I'm going to put you on the spot, Winston. I'm sorry, but I have to because I have to here. When are you going to come back on Go Get That Rose, dude?
That's true. There's been a lot of shit going on.
What is going on, bro?
There's been a lot of shit going on. The biggest, it's out of control. I'll be honest. The biggest thing, and I apologize, it's taken me so long to get on another one of your shows, Jay Wade. I just have been so busy, and now with this new job I have, it has been even worse. But you know, when do you film again?
Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay, so at this point, the problem is I go into work nowadays at 8 a.m. and I leave at like 9 p.m.
Oh,
so,
those are bad hours.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. So if I find myself one of these Wednesdays with stuff clearing up some, then dope. And if not, then because like a lot of times what I can do, I'm still at work, but then like my priority becomes cool. Let's run a Schmoedown practice while I'm logging data. You know what I'm saying? So like I gotta put my priorities currently in this job. It was an 8-week job, so I got 5 weeks left. So by then, I think The Bachelor's over, but we'll see what happens.
Well, you were the inspiration for that show, so of course I'm forever going to be trying to get you back on there.
Of course.
But yeah,
an episode and never again. That's. I don't get people who like it. It's not a thing in Canada. It's not very well popular. And because of this guy, I'm like, I kept going on the show just to support him, but didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. Then I'll go watch an episode, and like 30 minutes in, I'm like, Mike IQ is dropping by the fucking second.
Yeah, but that's what trash TV is for, though. It's for IQ droppage, so you can for like half a second you go, no, I don't gotta worry.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, I took us way off track there. Winston Marshall, thank you very much for stopping by. Really appreciate it. You had a really good draft. You got a good season ahead of you, I think, especially with Laura Kelly, man. I'm a big fan of hers. So.
Every single person on our team is a killer, is an absolute killer. And from everything that I've garnered just from the few texts we've been able to send before this meet and greet, there also seems like to be some of the funnest people that can possibly like come together. So I cannot wait to see what Swag does this season. Like we've even I don't want to ruin the surprise, but we have a surprise for y'all pretty early on as well. So I'm looking forward to that too. With that, much love to everybody. You can find me at the Swaggy Blurred right here. There's my thing on all the socials. And much love to y'all.
Yes, sir. Winston Marshall, everyone, manager of Swag, Drip Drip. Huge fan, great guy. Thank you so much for stopping by. And that is going to do it for this week's of Speaking of Schmoedown. Got off to a little bit of a rough start at the very beginning with me forgetting the name of the show, but it's got a smooth ending now. Dan, why don't you go ahead and tell the folks where they can find you at, sir?
You can find me on Stereo and on Twitter, simply at Dan Dolinsky, simple as that.
And Frenchie.
You can find me at North Schmoes on Twitter. You can find me at Schmoes North on YouTube. This Saturday on Frenchie Talks About, I got the Arsenault, which is a New Brunswick guy that was on the draft list for Star Wars. Didn't get drafted, but I have high hopes for him for GCL. And we're going to talk about the philosophy and the meaning behind Star Wars. So not just geeking out over Star Wars, but really the true philosophy that is based on Star Wars, and also the actual true religion of Jedi, that it actually exists in our time. You can actually go to a temple of Jedi per se. So we'll be diving really deep into that aspect of real life stuff that people take from something that does not exist per se, right? And you can also find me every week on this show from 2:30 to 4. Don't miss out. If you haven't subscribed to the show, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel or our YouTube channel, Schmoes North, subscribe. We really interconnect, and you won't be missing a thing. We have awesome content, and so does J-Way.
You can even eat at a Jedi's restaurant.
What's that?
You can even eat at a Jedi's restaurant. It's called
Yes.
Jedi Restaurant.
It's leaking. It is leaking into the real world. That's what I mean. Like people take it so seriously that they're making it part of their lives. So
I don't
that's.
know what you do with Star Wars though. It just says Jedi Restaurant. I'm like, oh.
Anyway, y'all can find me at JWade1134. That is the letter JWADE 1134. You can also follow us on Twitter at the Jcast Network. Subscribe to this channel and also to your podcasting platforms, please. I also the movie blog. You can find those on my Twitter bio. Until next week, everybody, we will have Rachel Silvestrini in the house, and the week after that, Chandra and Roca on, and then the week after that, Laura Kelly and Ace. But Rachel Silvestrini next week. Everyone, until then, be safe. You want to hear something funny? The mic wasn't on that whole time.
No way.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, wow.
So smooth.